for real. He'll finish out in the 5th round matchup against Luke Rada. Now we move to 197. Thomas Sandoval for Brown going up against Joe Curtis of Colombia. Curtis looked strong in his 8-1 decision against Penn's Nathan Taylor, and then Mikey Delegata pinned him in 51 seconds. That was a shocker, and how quick it went down. If you're Curtis, you're just trying to bounce back here, finish in 3rd, enter the tournament 11-6, the sophomore with the number 25 RPI. As they already, I think, went with a 3rd place bout finish over at 125. John Pardo. Now that was actually, I think, the consolation semis there at heavyweight. John Pardo getting a pin. We'll get confirmation on that. They've continued along here.
Yes, let it go. Let it go.
They might be shifting up a little bit, Pat, here. The matches here, because we were a whole match behind. So they might have grabbed match 59 there, which would have been the heavyweight. And that is the case. We were expected to have Logan Marisol and John Pardo. That actually just completed there with a Pardo pin. He's moving on to the 3rd place match. And so our final one here, Pat, in session number 3. Cornell and Penn are close 1-2 on the team score. Columbia and Princeton close 3-4. Brown and Harvard close 5-6 right now. And obviously, you know, Penn didn't get the dual victory against Cornell, but I think they have as good shot as anybody to get the highest points here. Their last Ivy title all the way back in 2005, and then it's been all Cornell, with the exception being 2020 with a dual one here at Jadwin Gym by the Tigers over the Big Red, the last non-Cornell champion in the Ivy League. And well, it just shows you every match matters on the team aspect, but for these wrestlers, it just coincides with them trying to get every last strip, every last ounce of what happens on the mound.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you get to rest for the rest of the year after this. So, you know, just letting it fly and try to do the best you can.
So there's another stoppage here for blood. So, yeah, I'll try to see if I can get a running count of who's been in the tournament by team. And if we can here, as they continue to look things over. So this is who is in right now so far. At 125, it is Princeton's Mark Anthony McGowan and Penn's Max Gallagher. Still to determine the 3rd bid at the 3rd place matchup between Marcello Milani and Suleiman Ba. At 133, it is Cornell's Tyler Ferrara and Penn's Ryan Miller. That championship at 133 is coming up at 6:30. 4 bids locked in at 141. CJ Composto of Penn, Eli Rivera of Princeton, Joshua Saunders of Cornell, and Lorenzo Freza of Columbia will continue with those locked in, but we have the action to resume here at 197. No score between Curtis and Sandoval. Halfway through this first period, and they're really going at it. And now you see that protection of the nose for Sandoval here, kind of having that interesting wrap that you kind of alluded to earlier, Pat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going at it high here.
Put your own step off. Very good.
Does that really help to have that wrap all the way around your nose?
I'm not sure.
wonder.
It definitely doesn't help your breathing. I wouldn't think.
And I wouldn't imagine it's the finest feeling thing either, you know, especially when you're kind of used to your creature of habit in sports to have that little thing. Then again, if you're a basketball fan back in the day, remember Rip Hamilton with his mask, it was something that he stuck with because it worked out so well. So who am I to say?
Whatever gets the job done.
Yep. So far, neither wrestler able to gain an advantage on the scoreboard.
Hey, Brian, you know,
They're still battling it out here
you got it.
in short time. So between Curtis and Sandoval, this is the first matchup between these two this year. And we'll be scoreless through one. Another look at the bracket. So I've been trying to get a confirmation on Taylor versus Agresti. The bracket they showed us earlier showed Agresti. Is Taylor moving on? It was, well, I first said an injury situation. That is now confirmed. So we got a little bit of the inconsistency from the back end in the stat keeping, but we have confirmed. So it is Taylor moving on, not Agresti. An escape for Curtis, and that comes in the first 10 seconds here in period number 2. Well, it's in a lot of these matches so far we've seen in the consolation semi, it's just very tough to find openings.
Yeah. It's been very, you know,
Tight to the vest,
yeah,
gritty,
just back and forth.
kind of stuck in the muck, so to say. But it has shown the quality. Again, we've had a lot of lower seeds in this round win. And it shows, again, everything that you have between these two sides. No matter who's in the match, it's still wide open. Minute left to go in the second period. We've seen quite a bit of 4-1 sudden victories today, and even a few short time takedowns tied at 1. Still going at it here. And I think just part of this obviously is in the tournament. You've seen these guys before, or most of them at least, and if you haven't seen them, the scouting's really good from these coaches because they've had only 5 opponents to break down at each weight class, as opposed to, you know, say if you're in the Big 10 or the Big 12 where you're looking at, you know, another dozen, 14, 16 teams. You have 5 other teams to prepare for. It's going to make the scouting that much tighter.
Yeah, and I think, you know, one of the things about the conferences too is that you wrestle these guys multiple times each year. So you know it's much more competitive in that sense because you know the style, you've wrestled them before, you know kind of what to expect. Then you get to the national tournament and you're wrestling kids you've never seen before. So, you know, there's a good mix of that going on. I think sometimes, you know, game planning, you almost overthink some matches, right? As opposed to just going out there and letting wrestling happen and just allowing, you know, yourself to kind of wrestle through whatever position you get into.
You look again, they're trying to make sure the blood is fine with the nose for Sandoval. So the other bids locked in at 149, Cross Wazalewski of Penn, and Ethan Fernandez of Cornell with the third place match at 149 coming up shortly. At 157, Cornell's Meyer Shapiro and Penn's Jude Swisher are in with the third place match pending between Blake Saito and Richard Fedolin. As we resume into action here. Final round of the consolation semis, 165 has Julian Ramirez and Cesar Alvin locked in. 174, Cornell's Simon Ruiz and Columbia's Jack McGill are in. We just saw Cole Mulhauser punch his ticket at 184. It's also Chris Foca, Maximus Hale, and Nick Fine in. 197 has seen Luke Stout and Mikey Della Gatta. With heavyweight still having the final to determine that lone bid between Ashton Davis and Vincent Mueller. 1-0 the score, and obviously now you look at this riding time getting close to a minute for Curtis. Sandoval has to get out. Curtis is trying to get some swipes. He gets only one, but that riding time further in his favor now, getting past a minute. So far, we have seen Cornell already with 8 tickets punched in the 10 weight classes to the NCAA tournament. Milani and Davis still in it, so Cornell could send all 10 to Philadelphia. Penn has 6 that are in. Princeton has 4, and so does Columbia. Really showing the strength, especially among the top 4 here, among these teams in the Ivy League. Curtis may get the ride out, may get some swipes here. No, how about a pin with 13 seconds left to go? And so a win at 197 by Joe Curtis, who will try to keep his strength going. Again, he's out of the running for the automatic spot, but will try to keep himself alive for an at-large and gets the job done here late in the third.
Yeah, just kept wrestling. Doesn't matter how much time's left on the clock. You're always looking for a fall. Winds up getting one. Big for the team score.